I don't see this said a lot, but regarding seasonal color theory, it can sometimes be hard to tell if you're like a brighter autumn or a spring, like a darker, less light spring. Um, but I think the best way to tell which one you are, like right now, I'm wearing a more autumnal color. But the best way I've found to tell if you are aligned with spring or not is when you're wearing more spring-like colors. There's a brightness in your complexion, a light brightness that's naturally in your complexion, and when you wear spring colors, you will look bright. It'll bring out that brightness. And if you're definitely in autumn, then that won't happen. Wearing the bright colors will not make you look clear and bright. Another tell is if you see people who are definitely spring types and their complexion reminds you of yours in ways. Like when you look at them, you feel like this looks like me. That's another sign that that's probably because you're also a spring. Um, I find I do that a lot. Like people who really don't look that much like me, but like remind me of myself and their coloration. The reason is we share a brightness like spring types do. Like this lighting is really bad, but if you if spring colors work on you, then when you see other spring types, um, they'll remind you of you. Like, and I think it's because like spring coloration is not very common, so you don't usually see people like that. Um, most people who are like have light and brightness about them are cool toned. So when you see someone with a light brightness who's definitely warm toned, like they have like a clear green eye and their hair is kind of like red and golden, and their skin is like yellow. It kind of like you're like, oh, it looks kind of like me. Like even if they don't look like you, like their brightness and coloration will remind you of yourself a little bit. But even if that does not happen, like you don't tend to see other spring types and feel like their coloration reminds you of yours. Um, when you actually wear spring colors, you will see a brightness be enhanced that autumnal people don't have. And when you wear more autumnal colors, you'll look gray in the way all cool colors make you. Like, because autumn and spring are both warm, but truthfully, spring is the warmest of them all. And the reason that is autumn and its natural grayness leans toward coolness by default. So the most muted form of autumn, which is deep autumn, the deeper autumn where there's a lot of gray involved, is almost leaning toward a cool palette. And I feel like in addition to being bright, springs are the warmest of all because the lack of much gray um, means autumn colors kind of drain them a little bit. Like, I mean, like I said, I'm not so spring. I'm obviously, I look almost autumn. Like, I'm not so spring that I don't wear autumn colors. But um, if I put my complexion in near a spring palette or an autumn palette, there's no doubt I look brighter with the spring palette. Like, and I think that's a sign, like, I don't see many people using. Like, if you're like not obviously either way, which is a lot of people, um, you know that you work well with spring, preferentially more. If near spring colors, your own features and skin look really bright. And when you're near autumn colors, you lose that brightness that's already there, that the colors are enhancing, and you take on more of a gray cast. It's not going to obviously be as bad as cool colors or soft colors, soft and cool colors, which will be the worst for you. Soft as in gray, cool as in blue. Um, and the low saturation, soft and grayed out, and cool, that's going to be the worst. So the relative grayness of an autumn palette is not nearly as offensive. It'll still look quite flattering, but relative to proper spring colors, you will lose some brightness and take on more of a gray tone. And if you're more autumn and you don't have a brightness that those bright colors can bring out, then what's going to happen is you'll look kind of clownish in spring colors. It's not going to bring out any brightness in you because you're not very bright. And the autumn palette will just look harmonious and it will not add a gray cast because your own natural muted features are a little gray and it'll be balanced. But that's the thing, if you err more towards brightness than mutedness, like if you're right on the border like me, but you do have some brightness and you err more towards brightness, then you're going to see this, that the spring colors, the ones that lean a little more spring, brighten you up, and a brightness, a clarity and brightness in your eyes and your hair will come out and your skin will look brighter. Versus when you lean more towards the autumn side, it'll still work and still look very nice, but you're going to notice a gray cast um, relative to the less gray colors. And if that's the case, you will work better with light spring colors than you will with deep autumn colors. Meaning, even if light spring does not work for you, it'll be more flattering to your complexion than deep autumn. That is so grayed out and it almost looks like a cool palette. And I think that's because springs lean warmer in general. By the virtue of their brightness, making the coolness of gray not doable, unlike autumns, where the coolness of gray works very well for them, in addition to being warm based. After I have always said, I think I lean spring. It's like if you look at me from far away, like, you're in autumn, bro. That's autumn. But I think I lean spring for that reason. When I see people's complexions that are spring, it reminds me of myself. And when I wear autumnal colors, my skin is definitely not as flattered as spring colors. Um, and the thing, and after evaluating, the thing it is this is the brightness of spring brings out a natural brightness I have, whereas the autumnal colors and their grayness, even shirts like this, which are mostly spring, like if it was more of a clear red, it would be better. The grayness kind of like adds a gray cast to me that I don't really have. And I think that's a tell. I did an experiment where I wore light spring and deep autumn. Like I wore an outfit that was kind of like veering towards deep autumn and an outfit that was kind of veering towards light spring. These are like definitely not for me, but they're within the family that's for me. So I can wear both. But if you look at my skin in both, like I definitely, my skin looks better in the light spring colors than it does in the deep autumn colors, which is a clue like you lean more towards spring than autumn. And even using the color fans in the face, like if I look from afar at all the different color fans, like I keep looking, my eye keeps going back to spring, and I can see what it is I look bright. I look bright. The colors don't look bright. And I don't see a lot of color analysts saying that the reason springs do better with those colors in autumn is not just because they're lighter than autumns. It's not because they have blonde hair. It's not because they have honey gold hair. It's not because any of that shit. The number one reason they look better is there's a brightness that's in their own complexion, a brightness that exists within them. Like their eyes have like a clear, bright hue. Their skin maybe has some brightness to it, and their hair even if the hair looks similar to an autumn, there's like some gold, there's a lot of light going on. And with all the natural light going on inside of a spring person's complexion, the bright colors enhance and flatter that. And if you don't have all that natural light going on, like your hair isn't like reddish and goldish, and your eyes don't have like a clear, bright blue, green, hazel, amber, if you don't have brightness about you in of your own complexion, when you wear spring colors, it's just going to look like your face and then a bright color. And then when you go to autumn colors, your natural mutedness and the muted color will be harmonious. If you are one with a brightness about you, like you have some, like your hair has some like reddish goldish hues that reflect a lot of light, your skin has a brightness in it, a luminosity to it. Your eyes have like a clear blue green. They're not just green, but there's like a clear blue, almost crystal like green, but yellow and golden overall vibe. That's what makes you spring. And when you wear bright colors that are also very light reflective and bright, those natural properties in your complexion are flattered. And when you go to an autumnal palette, even if it's like warm autumn versus warm spring, where the colors can look quite similar, it kind of like flattens you out. And I made this test where I wore a light spring, which is like way far away, leaning towards the summer. And then I wore deep autumn, which is way far away, leading towards winter. So these are both not for me. They're the coolest ones and the least warm. But the fact my skin looked so much better in the light spring than it did in the deep autumn. I looked kind of gray and sallow almost in the deep autumn. And I realized why that is. I lean more towards bright than muted. I mean, I'm kind of like in the middle, but I definitely lean more towards a bright complexion than a muted complexion. So if I go to the most muted in the autumn palette, and then compare that to like the most light in the spring palette, because spring is light and bright, autumn is deep and muted, but they're both warm, right? And the depth doesn't work for me because it's too cool. It starts to add coolness, just like the lightness doesn't work because it starts to add coolness. Neither of them work, but the fact I looked better in the light spring just goes to show that brightness is more relevant to me because the light spring is still bright. It's still bright. It just loses a lot of the brightness as it reaches towards summer, whereas deep autumn is not bright at all. That's what will throw you off is when you're in the parts of the autumn palette that are closer to spring, they can be pretty bright. And so it's harder for you to tell like which works better for me. I don't know. But you know which one works better for you when you go to the extremes that are far away from that cusp and which one works least well on you. And then you'll know, like, oh, I literally do better with lightness that still has some brightness in it than I do with so muted that it's practically a cool season and there's no brightness at all. That works really bad on me. And that'll give you what you need to know is like, so then basically you're oriented more towards the brightness. Like if colors are bright, they work good on you. And that makes you lean more towards a spring type. And the more accurate reason this is so is the thing that I see in common with my complexion and other springs is it's stereotyped to say, but a clear brightness. Like your eyes will have like a brightness to them. Your hair has a brightness to it, a light reflective brightness. It's not like spring works really well with shimmers and light reflective clothing and makeup in general. Autumn is more muted because they don't work as well with bright, light, shimmery things. And that has to deal with the level of brightness in the complexion. So if you have a natural brightness about you, even if you're not as bright as it can be, but you have some brightness to you. You're going to see those traits in common, and when you wear brighter colors, it brings it out. Um, and the autumn palette will kind of flatten you down, and it'll be less flattering on the skin. It'll start to look a little gray. And that is how you know, even if you're on the cusp, because you're not excessively bright and excessively muted, you lean more towards a bright type than a muted type. And I'm of the opinion that if you're moderate in brightness and mutedness, you're probably a bright type, simply because brightness is rare. Not many people have brightness in their complexion. And so if you do have some brightness in your complexion, you're going to err more towards the bright seasons like winter or spring, depending on your undertone, right? The elements of brightness are contrastedness, but also the natural light reflectivity of your features. So like how shiny your hair is, how bright your eyes are, your skin, how luminous it is. The amalgamation of those traits, as well as contrastedness. Contrastedness, like if you have very deep skin, for example, and a cool undertone, and you have white eyes and your eyes look very white and bright, that's a high level of contrastedness. Many deep skin tones are winter palettes for that reason, particularly bright winter. And or another common type of winter, because winter and spring are the two bright seasons. Another kind of winter complexion would be very fair skin that is a cool undertone, but the hair is black, the eyebrows are black, the eyes are uniform. There's not a lot of different colors in them. Deep black, or they could be blue. That high winter especially is very high contrast. Like I feel like more than spring, winter is the most elements of that you have to be contrasted to be a winter, right? And they're the brightest, even brighter than spring. I feel like a spring complexion is more luminous. Like they can be bright like a winter, very, but they're not. Winter brightness is more of an innate contrast in your complexion. Black hair, white skin, or very dark skin and light eyes and teeth, and it's making a high level of contrast, but a cool undertone. The winter palette is the brightness comes from the contrastedness, whereas in a spring complexion, it comes from more from your innate luminosity. So they are more medium contrast, but like their hair is very shiny. They have like a dewiness in their skin. Their eyes are like clear and bright. Like they just have a brightness and a shininess. They look shiny. They look more shiny, and their contrast level is not as high as winter usually, but it's higher than autumn generally, right? You could take people with two similar complexions and the same level of contrastedness, but you can tell which one's the spring based on like the translucent shininess about them. They have like a luminous look, and the bright colors enhance and flatter that. Whereas even at the same level of contrast, like you could take two people with a kind of copper hair, green eye, and a similar skin tone. One could be an autumn and one could be a spring if they don't have that brightness, shininess, luminosity to their look. And I don't see a lot of people kind of mentioning that. Like if you like if your complexion reminds you of like a very bright and shiny and luminous look when it's ideally flattered, then you're probably a autumn. If you do, like if you're ideal, like when you look very flattered, you look very shiny and luminous in your eyes and your hair, and there's like a lot of light reflectivity, then you're probably a spring type. I don't see many people clocking that, but I know for myself that's the case. Like that's the difference between like a more spring color and autumn color is autumn colors kind of flatten me out and make my skin look grayer. Whereas spring colors kind of brighten me up and make my eyes look bright. I look brighter. And that's the function of the spring palette. If you are a spring, then brightness you naturally have will be flatter. And if you're not, if you don't have a brightness about you, then the bright colors will just stand out among you. And the more subdued and grayed out colors of autumn will put you forward. And if you are like me, one of those people you're not sure because you're so close to both, I think a good test is to wear deep autumn colors versus light spring colors because that's going to be the farthest away from you. Like there's light spring, bright spring, true autumn, um, deep autumn, soft autumn, right? And those outer edge ones are going to be least flattering on you if you're like on the middle border there. And it'll really kind of show what's up. Like, this looks bad. This don't look good. And if the season that doesn't work for you looks better than the season that also doesn't work for you, then it's probably a sign that you're closer to that season where even though it's not for you, it still looks better on you. And like I said, I did this test comparing like a deep autumn palette, which is definitely not appropriate for me, to a uh light spring palette, and definitely my skin looked better on the light spring palette. Like, and I was comparing, I looked almost sallow and gray relative to the light spring palette where my skin looked good and my eyes looked bright. And that's how you kind of know, right? Um, yeah. The issue is in autumn types, their brightness level is so low. I feel like more than not being contrasted, autumn types are very not bright. The brightness is the most important feature of the spring. Brightness. They have a light luminosity to their features. It doesn't matter what their complexion is, although in general, spring skin tones kind of cap out at tan, like a natural tan skin, a brown skin. Like if you have a very deep skin, you can't be a spring. But more than any other trait is the brightness. Like autumn people are not bright. They have no brightness about them. And when they wear the grayer colors, they look more harmonious that way. And when they try to wear any spring colors, it looks clown-like on them. Like bright spring colors look clown-like on most people. Like even if you are a spring, it's going to look kind of clownish on you wearing those super bright colors. The bright spring subtype is almost a winter. The bright elements of winter. Um, Winter is bright and deep. Like each season has like features. Winter is defined by brightness, depth of color, and coolness. Summer is defined by mutedness, coolness, and lightness. So those features of a complexion will be found in the summer spectrum. Autumn is defined by softness, depth, and warmth. That sounds wrong, but that doesn't sound right. So we have a warm undertone, and since soft as in grayed out, deep as in dark are the other two features, that's the only kind of complexions. There's no room for brightness in autumn. None. Spring is opposite. It's defined by lightness and brightness as well as warmth. There's no soft spring. That doesn't exist. There's light spring, but there's not soft spring. There's no gray in spring. And so because of that, spring is like the warmest season if you think about it. Because by definition of autumn being soft, it does really well with gray. There's a lot of gray. And spring types will give, like, if you feel like you're very warm, too warm for gray, that's another sign. If you feel like you're so warm that a lot of the autumn colors are too gray for you, that's another sign it's because you're too bright. What you mean to say, but you don't really consciously understand. The reason the gray colors of autumn don't look good is your natural luminosity and brightness is in context your warmth is making you bright and thus warmer in ways. You're warmer in ways than in autumn. Autumns have that softness and grayness that lends a coolness even while being warm. And when you look at the light spring palette and compare that to something like the autumn deep palette, which is the coolest autumn palette because it's both deep and it has the enhanced softness to it. So it's both gray and dark. That's two different cool colors. The darker a color is, the cooler it is because you're adding both black and gray now. Black and gray are cool, right? So even if you're starting out with a red or a yellow, if you add black and gray, it's going to look way cooler than when we're white and more saturation is added to it. And if you feel like I'm just warm, but you think you're in autumn, or you could be in autumn, it's probably because you're actually closer to spring. And the extra luminosity is creating an extra warmth. The brightness of the sun, like the brightness look to your complexion, makes you feel in ways warmer and brighter than autumns because of how well and how much gray and mutedness they have that is naturally cool. Um, Another sign is how well you work with color. Like people always used to tell me like I have a good face for makeup. Like I could wear lots of color on my face and it looks good. And that's another sign that you have a spring complexion because if you have a lot of different color and color looks good on you, especially like pretty unconventional colors like orange and red and red purples and greens and these colors you wouldn't expect to see in makeup and it looks good on you, that's a sign you're a spring complexion. Like, not every complexion can do that. They can't wear rainbow makeup, right? The two color palettes that do the best with really eccentric makeup are winter types and spring types. Summers and autumns do not do well with a lot of different color. Um, and if you look really cool with a lot of different color, that's a low-key sign that you're either a winter or a spring. If autumns veer out of like their bronzes and rusts and earthy greens and bright, like they don't look good. Like if you put like bright orange, a bright green, a warm blue, a red purple on their eye at once, they will not rock that very well. But if you can wear that and it looks good on you, that's a huge sign you're a spring. And the same thing in reverse for winter. If you could wear like a cool red, a cobalt blue, all these different cool colors on your eye, and it looks fine, like a hot, cool neon pink, and you look pretty cool, that's a sign that you're a winter. Summers can't do that, and neither can autumns. They're much more constricted in because they're not bright, so they can't work with as much color. Um, yeah, like I said, so if you saw me from a distance, you'd be like, that's an autumn. Like right now with bad lighting, it looks like I'm in autumn. I'm definitely wearing an autumn shirt. This overshirt I'm wearing is kind of like a summer color. It could lean in between soft autumn or summer. I'm dressed like autumn right now. But I realized like the reason my face looks the best near the spring colors and why if I wear light spring colors I look better than if I'm wearing deep autumn colors is because like as I suspected, I'm a spring. I lean more towards spring. Like I'm kind of in the middle, but I definitely lean more towards spring. And that's the thing is you have a natural lightness and brightness that bright colors will bring out. And like I said, some signs of that are when you wear the colors of the two palettes, even the ones that don't fit you, if you look more flattered, your skin looks better and you look better and brighter in the one that is spring versus and the autumn one is like kind of graying you out and dragging you down. That's a sign that you're leaning more towards spring and how much color you can support, how bright and how much, and it still looks good. Um, like I said, like people would say, like I have a face for makeup, and I didn't know what I thought they meant, like because I have a lot of eye space and like I have a good eye to do eye makeup. But now I realize, no, I just can wear really bright colors. Like they look flattering and they fit me. It doesn't look like something apart from me. And the two color complexions that do the best with really eccentric bright makeup are winter types and spring types. They can really get away with wearing wacky ass bright colors on their eye makeup and such, and it looks cool. And yeah, if the colors make you look bright versus if they kind of add a grayness, similar to what cool colors do, but not as bad. Like this definitely works way better than any cool color. But if it was brighter, it would work better. If it was more spring-like, it would work better. And that's how you know which one you lean more towards.